Hey friends, you are with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today we are making oversized canvas. So I designed something that I personally want to put in my house, like on either side of my fireplace, and I was looking for stuff and I couldn't find anything that was over like 12 inches or 14 inches, and I really wanted something big. So today we're going to use 30 by 40 canvas, and I'm going to show you actually how easy it is to make these big beautiful pieces. Now I'm using black and white today just because that's kind of the theme of my house, but you could do some beautiful artwork in your kids' rooms or your room or whatever. But this is just going to show you the mechanics of how to do that really big, artwork pieces. So I hope if you like what I'm doing here today, you give me a thumbs up, and I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me every week for new videos. Hop down below and grab the free cut if you want to craft along. Okay guys, let's get going. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I've gone ahead and just opened a new canvas. Now, if you're on the home page, there will be a square that you'll click that's for a new project. So you just want to open up a new project, and then if you have not uploaded designs before, then I am putting a video up here showing you how to do it. It's a really quick video, just a couple of minutes, but it'll show you how to bring in design. So if you want to get this design that I'm working with, but you could go into images and choose from thousands of different images and make your own. But for today, we are going to use mine. So if we go into the upload, I've already uploaded them, but I'll show you what they look like here. So I did a couple of different versions, and I've chosen to make this one for my particular canvas. So together, and then is our favorite place to be. Okay, since they're already in, I'm just going to cancel that. And so this is going to be really big. So what I'm going to be showing you today is how to work with a design when it's larger than your mat, but you want to still use that design and you want it to be big, because remember, our canvases are 30 by 40, or the ones that I'm doing today, two of them, 30 by 40. So the very first thing that I would do is, pull in those two designs, or creating, the one that you want to put on your canvas. And then I go over to shapes. So if you click on shape and choose a square, and then make that square the size of your canvas. Now you're not going to cut that out, of course. Okay, so let's click on this, but it will help you to visualize what your design is going to look like when it's on your canvas. So if you take your square and you go up into sizing, and remember mine's 30 by 40, so I'm going to unlock it. We're going to go 30 by 40, which is really big. Okay, and so this is what it comes out looking like. Now for my purposes, I turned it white because I wanted to be able, it's a white canvas that I'm working with. And if you notice down here, I have made my screen much smaller just so I can see the whole thing on screen. But because I already have these, I'm going to delete this. But if once this comes on, you see how it's over top of your design. If you go up into arrange, you can send it to the back. So now it's behind your design, and you can see your design on top of it. So I'm just going to delete that because I already did that for these two. So this is what my two are going to look like. So I did like this big here, and then a knockout with the word favorite over here. If you look over into the layers panel, you're going to see that each one of these, so for the together block, they're actually grouped, and I did this on purpose when I designed it. I grouped them so that they, I'm going to put them so that they're touching each other, but I grouped them so that I could cut them out easier as separate elements. So now if you look at the other, which is our favorite place to be, I didn't do that. So what I'm going to show you today is how to do this with my design, but also how to do it with all those other designs that you might want to make in Cricut Design Space. So when you have an element that is way too big for your ability to cut, and so if you're looking in layers, you see these little caution cone things here, that's because it's telling you you can't cut that with the Maker or the Explorer. It's way too big. So what I'm going to do is help you to make it small enough. We're going to cut it into bite-sized pieces so that your machine can cut it, and then you can put it together once you're on the craft table. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to look and see what's too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one. And first thing I want to do is duplicate it. Okay, so now that I have that duplicated, I'm going to go into contour. And I'm going to, you can click on it here or you can click on it over here, and I'm going to take out everything below is our. Okay, so now we have the is our. And so what we want to do next is we want to click back on this full piece and we want to duplicate it. And this time we want to hide everything in contour except the word favorite. So we're going to do the same process. We're just going to click on everything, and won't take but a moment. And so then again, the very next thing we're going to do after this is we'll do the same to place, and then we'll do the same to be. Okay, so now I have each of those lines and I have the original. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on each one of those and place them exactly over the original so that I know I have the correct placement. Okay, so we'll put place, in place, favorite, place, and is our. Okay, so once I've done this, what I'm going to do is go over to layers and click on the original, and I'm going to hide it. Okay, so now each of these elements, to be, place, favorite, is our, is all its own cut. Now you'll notice that favorite still has the little caution cone. You can do one of two things. So basically what this is telling me is that it's 24.3 by 7.8. So you can either highlight all four of these pieces and reduce the size of all four of them so that favorite is smaller, or you can duplicate favorite, take the E off of it, and then kind of do exactly what we just did and make favorite small enough so that you don't have to modify your size. So like if you really like the way that your sizing is right now, you can do that. For me, I think I am just going to overall reduce the entire size of both of these. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to click on my squares, hide, and I'm going to go up to select all. So my caution cone has gone away, so now I know favorite is small enough. So then I can go and turn back on my canvas and kind of see. So if I click on each one of these using my shift key and sort of reposition it in the middle, and it doesn't have to be perfect, guys, because you're going to measure it once you get it to the canvas. And then we take that and kind of do the same. It really doesn't look significantly different, and then you don't have to worry about trying to make favorite bigger or smaller. It's now going to work just fine on the mat. Okay, so we have together and we have this, and so if you look at this, now we have to do something with together. Now when you look at together and you look at is our favorite place to be, it is slightly larger anyway than this element. So what we could do is we grab all of those. Okay, so as I was resizing together, it was getting a little bit smaller than I really wanted it to be for this particular project. So I actually paused the video, went back into Adobe Illustrator, and modified my design and re-uploaded it. So if you look over into layers now, you're going to see that I have pretty much taken most of the letters apart, and then we will hand place them in the correct order and placement whenever we get over to the mat. So now when we look in layers, the only thing that's showing the caution cones are the two rectangles that we have behind, just showing our placement. So we're going to hide those, and we're ready to make it. So you could use the Explore or the Maker for this project. Just because it's so large, you can't really use the Joy, I guess, unless you were cutting out one letter at a time, which you could do that. So let's go ahead and select Make It. Okay, so we are going to be using the big mat, and so what it's telling me here is it wants to use the 12 by 24 mat, and we're just going to say okay. But one thing you do not want to forget to do, guys, this is iron-on, so we want to make sure that we mirror every single one of these mats. Otherwise, you're going to be very sad whenever you cut it out. And this is where you would connect your machine. Okay, so now Cricut Design Space has found my Cricut Explore Air 2. And the machine, because remember the Explore Air has the dial where the Maker does not, it is already set to iron on. Now if I wanted to use glitter, then I would need to move it over to custom and then put in the glitter iron on. So we just need the fine point blade. And so let's go over to the craft table now, and I'll show you how we're going to put this all on the mat, and we'll get cutting. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and here are the things that we're going to be using today. So I have a bulk glitter iron-on and a bulk everyday iron-on. The small sheets that you would get in the store are just not, there's not enough on them to do this project. Of course, you could purchase multiple ones, but if you want to get the best price, I would suggest going to Cricut.com and getting the bulk sets. And then I have my clear acrylic ruler, I have my 12 by 24 mat, I have my weeding tools, my scraper, and then I have my canvas, and these are, I have two of these, and they're 30 by 40, and then I have my easy press and my easy press mat. And I'm also going to be using my paper trimmer. I like to use it when I'm cutting out material just because it keeps everything straight and even. Okay, so let's clear all of this out of the way and we'll set up our first mat. Okay, so this is my 12 by 24 mat, and this is the paper cutter that I like to use. It's a paper trimmer, but I use it for all of my materials, just to keep everything straight. But the ruler only goes out to 16 inches. So what I did was I pulled out my material and then lined it up with my mat just to make sure that it was going to fit. And so then once I have that in place, and the first piece that I'm cutting is glitter, and then the others I'm gonna cut from every day. So we're going to just go up, cut that out. And of course I didn't get that little tiny corner. So, okay, and now I'm going to put this out of the way and we're gonna put it on the mat and we're gonna go ahead and cut this first piece. What I suggest when you're putting material on a really large mat like this is to actually roll the material up a bit so that you just have that edge. And remember, with iron-on, you want to put the good side down, right? So you want it to be the back side, so the shiny side goes down and the back side is facing up. And so when you pull the mat to you, sort of use the corners as a guide. Whoop. Try that again. This mat is so long, it's a little difficult to get up into the corner. Okay, so now we have that on, and this mat maybe is not as sticky as I would like for it to be. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of Scotch tape and secure each of my edges. I do this sometimes when my mats lose their sticky. Okay, so since I've decided to use glitter first, when I turned this dial from iron-on to custom, my computer asked me what I wanted that custom to be. So that's when I chose glitter iron-on. So whenever you're using these really long mats like this, they feed in exactly the same way. You just hit the arrow button. But the thing is you have to have enough space for it to go both directions. So I have this on a desk, but the desk is not as deep or as long as the mat. So I'm just going to support underneath it so that it can feed in and out. Just make sure there's nothing behind it. So we'll go ahead and hit cut. Okay, so our cut is done. We just go and hit the arrow and it spits out our mat. And now we can take it back to the craft table and weed it out. And then we'll do the same process with each of our materials, just making sure that you switch that custom back to iron on when we're cutting the everyday. Okay, so here we are back on the craft table. And the first thing I like to do is I like to take my weeding tool and take out interior elements. Now, I can see this very well in person. Glitter, for some reason, I can just see it so much better than I can the regular black. So I don't need my bright pad for this. But if you are struggle to see some colors, and there are some colors that I really struggle with, then using a bright pad is a great idea. But especially with something like this is a knockout, which means that I'm really just wanting to keep this very thin outline of the word favorite. And so by having a bright pad, you just make sure that you don't get any of those tiny elements, that you're only weeding the stuff that you truly want to weed so that you don't waste any materials. Okay, so we're gonna keep on with this, take it off the mat and put on the next color. Actually, I wanna show you this really quickly. So, you know, I taped down these edges, so we'll have to pull up the edges. But when you are taking material off of a mat, there is a specific way to do it. Let me just put those out of the way. You want to turn the mat upside down and you want to pull or bend the mat, not your material, okay? So make sure you bend the mat and not the material. One of the things I love about glitter is how easy it weeds. It pulls away so easy. Okay, so I've weeded this, and so our next step is to clear this away and get another piece of material and do the same process again. So we'll put it on the mat, we'll cut it out, and then we'll weed it. And then once all of those elements, all those pieces are done, there are 6 different mats, then we will place them on the canvas, and I'll show you how to put them in place and heat press them or easy press them down. Okay, so all the elements have been cut out, and these canvases are so large I couldn't get them both on my craft table. So I placed them on the floor, and then I started putting the elements where they need to go. So important to remember when you're doing this is to measure and measure and measure again. And with something as large as this, I would even recommend like using a tape measure just to make sure that you have the same distance that you need on both sides, the top and the bottom. The top and the bottom are very important in my mind. Like place, I'm probably going to shift over a little bit. I want favorite to be centered, is yours is going to be centered. Now, these letters are going to be a little more difficult, and what I would recommend is starting with one element, making sure, I laid them all on there because I want to make sure the top and the bottom is the same. And then, of course, I put them somewhat together because I want to make sure that, you know, my sides are all my white spaces are as they should be. Because I think that as large as this is, you can visualize that on the wall. Like you'll actually be able to see if there's errors. But I would recommend putting down one element and then going over and putting down the outer element. And because these somewhat overlap, then going in and putting the ones in the middle and overlapping where they should be. So we're actually going to start with this one, and I'm going to put favorite down and making sure and centering off of it. So making sure that my sides are the same and my top and bottom as I work out. And we're going to be using the Easy Press, and this is the largest one, and I'm actually going to be using the Easy Press mat behind this. If you don't have a mat, use a towel. So this canvas is roughly a 1/2 inch thick, and whenever you push on it, you can see there's nothing behind it. It has a frame behind it, but the frame doesn't cover the entire thing. So you definitely want to use your Easy Press mat and possibly a towel too, just depending on how thick your canvas is. Okay, so I've measured and measured and measured just to make absolutely sure, and I went ahead and put my mat underneath this. And so I'm going to take my ruler off. Actually, I think I'm going to leave it on one side because as large as this is, It's still not big enough to go over the entire thing, and I do not want it to move. One thing is I am going to remove the word favorite just because I haven't gotten it perfect in placement, and I don't want you know, the heat press or the easy press to go over top of this word. I just want it to be on this one. Okay, so we're gonna hold that down, pick up the easy press, and with the size or with the type of fabric, meaning the canvas, and then the type of iron-on, I need it to be at 340. Now typically you would flip an item over and do the back. You can't do that with canvas. So you're just going to have to test it and possibly do it twice. Okay, and then we're just going to do that same process with is, and then I'm going to place favorite back in place, and I'm going to do it, and then I'll do each of the elements, and then I'm going to peel it off at the end. Okay, so after much measuring and using the easy press, I have all 4 of the elements of this canvas in place. And so what I want to do now is I want to peel away this backing. Now what you want to do when you're peeling away backing is you always want to peel from a corner upward. You never want to peel straight across, and this has cooled. So when you're using the guide, depending on what type of material you're using, and depending on what type of iron-on you're using, it will tell you if it's a cool peel or a warm peel. And most of the time it's going to be a cool peel unless you're using foil or something like that. I'm actually going to turn my canvas around just slightly, and we're going to start with this corner right here. So it's upside down, but what you're going to do is you're going to grab that corner and just slowly peel it away. Now if anything catches when you're doing this process, just use your easy press and go over it one more time with the backer in place to protect it. And I did go ahead and put all of the pieces on, and I'm peeling everything at one time just so I didn't accidentally put my easy press over top of an element, you know, that was unprotected. So see how easy that is? It turned out so nice. Okay, so what do you think? So that was really fun, right? Now I just used one color today, but you could use glitter, you could use tons of different colors to do like artwork for your kids' room. Oh, I could see doing so many fun and beautiful things. And as a matter of fact, if I had had one of these back when my kids were little, I probably would have done like some kind of name artwork, like with ABCs, but you know, calling out the letters of the alphabet with their names. Oh gosh, that would be so cute. I need to make that for my niece. Or doing like a really pretty script above a nursery, you know, above the baby's crib. That would be really cool with like the, you know, the weight and the length and everything on it. That would be so fun. But I linked down below everything that we used today, and the free cut is down there, so make sure you grab that. And if you like what we did here today, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and join me every week for new videos. All right, guys, see you next time.